Hey, you want to check out what's happening in alternative porn in France? Let me introduce you to Carré Rose Films. Founded by Carmina, a French-Mexican performer and longtime advocate for sex worker rights. This indie studio is doing things differently, putting performers first, pushing for diversity, and tackling industry issues head on, all of which keep all while keeping things hot and fun. One example, check out this series, 60 Minutes with. Carmina meets a fellow performer for 1 hour. No script, no plan, just sees where the moment takes them, and you get to be right there with them. Don't worry about whether you speak French or not. All films are either in English or subtitled, so you won't miss a thing. Curious? Head to carrierosefilms.com. That's Carrie rosefilms.com. Cams.com is a performer-run webcam studio working with models who want to make serious bank doing online sex work. Top Treasure Cams models are earning 100K plus a year, taking home weekly fat paychecks. We have a great affiliate program to reward you for any traffic you bring to the site. We help you set up with equipment, tech, sales techniques, monthly meetings, and so much more. Visit treasurecams.com to learn more about us and to cam with us. Have you ever been looking for an amazing queer cam performer? Well, I got you covered. You should check out TS Cami. Her super hot content is on Chatterbait, Twitter, Xhamster, and Reddit. Support this rad trans femme. Enter your fantasies. Big Fantasy is a porn star, stripper, femdom, and expert making your fantasies come true. Explore Fig's secret, luxurious world at AQUATAFANA collective.net and at Figs Fantasies on OnlyFans and Figs Fantasy on Instagram. She's waiting for you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Performers Pod. I'm Chelsea Poe, and today my guest is XBiz nominee Jaq Quicksilver. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. It's so great to be chatting here with you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you. I feel like even before I met you, I met your partner and worked with your partner,
Yeah,
where I felt like I knew you before, and we have so many mutuals in both the Netherlands and in the Bay. So you're originally from the Bay, correct?
that's right.
So yeah, you shot with like Ruby Riots. I saw that you were like part of this whole scene, and then I saw you then pop up in Amsterdam. I'm like, oh my God, there's someone else who knows all this stuff about Bay Area queer porn, and also now you're in Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, that's right. I've been living here for, let's see, 15 months now. Yeah.
Wow, that's so exciting. How are you liking it so far?
I love it. I genuinely love this city. It's beautiful. The culture is great. It's like healing to me as
Yeah.
an American. As an American and a trans person, it's like been really great for me. I'm really glad I landed here.
Yeah, I'm so indecisive when I'm there because I'm Dutch American, so I grew up in a really small little Dutch town in outside Chicago. So I feel like whenever I'm back in Amsterdam, I'm like, am I just glazing this place because I'm from here? People look like me here. But then I'm like, wait, there's so much trans stuff where it's just like you don't feel like it's even a thing. You're just like can be chill and exist in the world, you know?
Yeah, it's like such a non-issue that's like really refreshing, especially with how it's been ramping up as an issue in the US. It's like, oh wow, like I know intellectually that being trans, like, quote, doesn't matter,
Yeah.
like in a big picture.
Hmm.
Not that it doesn't matter, like of course it fucking matters, but like it's not hurting anyone.
For
And like
real.
to be in a culture where they're like, yeah, you can just do that. It doesn't hurt me. And I'm like, great.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a thing in Dutch culture where it's just like, why are you getting involved in other people's business? Just mind your own
Yeah,
business.
I love
Like,
it.
I love that about Amsterdam. Like, no one's gonna come up to you on the street unless like you're like explicitly asking. like being like, "Hello,
Hmm.
talk to me." Where
Yeah.
in the Bay, or just I think in general, it's so much American culture where people are always like they don't feel there's no like sense of shame to go up to someone and be like, "Oh, I don't like what you're doing," or trying to like get involved in other people's business.
Yeah, where does that come from?
It's a
Like,
it's a Karen ass culture.
it sucks.
Um, but so when did you start doing porn? Because I saw you kind of pop up on my radar when you started working with Ruby Riots, a few other Bay Area people. I was like, oh, cool. There's a trans mask person shooting cool stuff.
Well, thank you. I started making like solo stuff in 2020,
Okay.
because it was the time to do
The
that kind of shit.
pandemic.
And I think I had my first collab in 2021 and sort of like ramped up from there. And it's in the last few years that I've become more noticeable, I guess. I've been in like nominated for things and like worked with a couple studios and stuff, so that's been really great.
Yeah, so how old were you when you started in 2020?
I was 30 years old.
I love that. I I think there's so many stereotypes about porn that's like, oh my God, if you're 20 years old, you're too old to be in porn. Where it's like, why didn't you get in when you were 18? And like, I totally think it's amazing that there's people who like exactly know in high school they're like, this is what I'm gonna do is the day I turn 18. But I feel like there's just so many other ways to get into porn where people get in their 30s or 40s or even 50s, you know?
Yes, for sure. And I was like so actually grateful I started at that age because it was, as anyone who's like a woman or like spent a significant amount of time as a woman knows, when you become like 30 is the age when you're like, actually, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Mm,
And like that like no bullshit era coming upon me was like actually perfect because, as you know, there's like tons of like weirdos and time wasters and
oh
even
my
even like
God.
predators. And so it's
Hmm.
just like, no, if you give me a weird vibe, no.
Yeah, I think I like to think the industry is a little bit better now, but also like just in the whole content world of Vegas, like that anyone can kind of move there to become a porn performer.
Right,
It's low-key
right.
kind of crazy.
It is.
I've talked to
Go
some
on.
older people in the industry who are in like the 2000s, like I had Stoya on, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is how you get into porn now." And she's like, "That's terrifying." Just like anyone can be like, "I'm gonna try to be a porn star now."
Yeah, yeah, you have to like become good at vetting people, which
Hmm.
is annoying and a skill.
For sure. So did you start with just like making your own clips, or did you start with something like camming first?
I started making, actually just started like making photos that I was posting on
Okay.
Reddit. And I really love photography and I really very badly wanted to have like a really hot OnlyFans page with my fine photography. And it was like actually kind of a sad lesson to learn that like people don't actually buy photos and that you have to
Oh.
make videos or like go live. So then I started, yeah, to get into making clips because that was what seemed the most
Hmm.
fun to me. And yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I feel like there was an era where like photos were everywhere, like God's Girls, Suicide Girls era,
yes, yes,
which I'm very glad I caught the tail end of because I'm like, through like all like the cool alt girls I looked up to in high school, I'm like, oh my God, they're so cool.
same.
What kind of like porn inspired you to get into porn that it was like something you thought, yeah, I can do this. It feels like a thing I want to pursue.
It's funny, yeah, like it was an idea I'd like dabbled with a lot as an
Hmm.
adult, but like didn't really commit to. I know that like I guess like my two biggest porn memories would be like when I was like a baby queer at like 21 and
Hmm.
like finding the crash pad online and being like,
Yeah.
whoa, sick. People make it that way. Cool. And then I also like worked for a little while in like the worst job of my life, which was in the back end of a comic book store where I ended up just reading like a lot of like porn comics that we had and like some of which are like I consider classics, but like I don't know. These like two things where it's like, wow, there's like this whole world of like sexuality and expression and Yeah, with like things going on in the pandemic, I was like, I'm just gonna try it out and like see if I could do that.
Do you think being from the Bay, you were like more exposed to that? My partner's also from the Bay, so I feel like just like I'm from the Midwest, so I feel like everything was very delayed. Like I didn't know what a strap-on was until Lady Gaga came around. I didn't know. I don't know.
Queer
I was like,
educator.
I mean, that's what I've followed her around for years. I have like multiple Gaga tattoos because of that, because I was like, oh wow, you're wearing latex all the time. Oh, you're wearing a strap-on under all your clothes. I'm very interested in this. Did you feel like in the
Yeah,
Bay, like there was more of an exposure?
yeah, for sure. And part of it was like my own like inclinations. I was like really
Hmm.
interested in like alternative cultures and what people were doing. So I like sought that out. But like I went to the Folsom Street Fair for the first time, I think when I was like 19.
Oh my God.
Um, because I was like, "Whoa, that sounds crazy. I'm gonna go check it out." So yeah, the fact that there's like events like that I could just like take the train and like 50 minutes and like go hang out at Folsom for the day as a teenager.
And see everything.
Yeah, see too much, honestly.
It is really crazy that that's just was like the backdrop of growing up in the Bay, where it's just like, oh yeah, there's like stuff like even Pride back then was so much more sexual, I feel like, where Pride now in
Mhm.
the Bay. I mean, like 10 years ago, I went and there was like a U-Haul full of lesbians just having sex, and like there was
What?
smoke pouring out of it. Like it
Oh,
was,
that's
I
amazing.
thought it was a fog machine, but it was just weed smoke. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's fucking incredible.
But now when I go, it's like you see some stuff, but I haven't seen any like people fucking in and on top of a U-Haul.
Like I think it was in 2019 or
Hmm.
2021, I can't remember which, but San Francisco changed their law so you can't be nude anymore in public.
Hmm.
Whereas until then, it was like legal to be nude. And man, what a bummer. In
I'm
my
like, there's
opinion.
still the naked men in the Castro have still returned. The guys who are just like walking around naked.
Yeah. I feel like this like law was probably just made to like be in like classic Bay Area at this point maneuver just to like slap homeless people with more jail
Yeah,
time, which is disgusting.
so fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also another whole thing, just like the whole economic thing in moving to Amsterdam. Like, you're not seeing that, like, Dutch society actually kind of cares.
Yeah, it was a big factor for me deciding to move. Like my partner I live with is from Seattle, so very similar socioeconomic
Hmm.
spectra as the Bay Area.
Yeah,
A lot of tech, a lot of like really rich people, and a lot of like really suffering people.
for sure.
And local governments that just don't want to commit to doing anything about it. And like it was just like killing my soul to like
Yeah,
not only like be in constant contact with people who I as an individual cannot help and who are just like dying,
yeah,
but also just like there's I I did everything I could as like a not very rich person. I voted. I would like let my representatives know about shit and like try to like talk to people. And it was like, okay, well, nothing's changing and it's just getting worse. And like, I don't want to like be part of this.
for
I don't know.
sure. I think it's just so different. I feel like this is now us just glazing the Dutch government and being
Yeah.
like, I'm like, please give me a passport. Please give me my passport. But it is true, like just the way even we treat sex workers here, like in the Mission right now in San Francisco, they during the weekends they close half the streets because they want to stop sex workers from being there.
Jesus.
And it's ridiculous. And it's just like this consistent pushing down of people who are sex workers or advocating for sex workers. I was involved in a leadership group like 2 years ago in the city. I got this gay medal from the city, which was really great in my porn name and
Nice.
everything, where they're like, oh, wow,
Nice.
you're like doing the stuff. So the whole program is to be like, oh, you can get involved in local governance and like, you can advocate for whatever issues. So like some people in our group were advocating against AAPI hate. I wanted to advocate for sex workers and homeless rights. And all the Democrat politicians here are like, we want nothing to do with sex work, so no. And it's just like you can't even really even have a conversation with someone here where
Yeah.
literally in Amsterdam, the last time I was there were two political elected figures that were in an orgy I shot, you know?
Oh, what? I
Where it's
love
just like
that.
so different, where it's like
It's
their sex work
yeah,
is just so accepted. And it's like I have friends who run for office and stuff, where here it's just like that from the sex work world is so vastly different. And it just really has an effect on you as a person who is in this career, who you're like, oh, wow, I'm actually a person and I can, go up through society in the Netherlands. And here it feels even if you're doing all legal sex work, which that term I think is bullshit, but
yeah,
um you're just like still held to such weird standards where it's like your bank can still get taken away, your housing could still get taken away, all these other things, you know?
exactly. Yeah, I feel like yeah. Now I'm just like thinking about your comment about glazing the Dutch government,
I mean, I
but
do have
there,
the Dutch flag behind me so we can like have it slowly waving.
but like there's like this such a commitment to like equity, I think is like the word, where it's
Yeah.
like actually giving people lowering the difference between people in terms
Yeah.
of like stigma and financial difference and stuff. It's like such a more equitable society in that way.
Yeah. I feel like there's also this thing in American culture where we assume the worst of all of each other. Where
Yeah.
it's like, well, we can't have this nice thing because someone's going to take advantage of it. So everyone has to have bad stuff. Where I feel like in
Yeah.
Dutch culture, it's like, well, we everyone should be in a better situation.
Yeah, which seems, rational to me.
For sure. So, you started like shooting stuff locally. Did you end up shooting for Crash Pad?
I did. I have twice. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, that was my first shoot ever. And yeah, I feel like for so many queers, especially like around our age, it was such a really important thing because that's the first time I saw porn that like I was like, oh, that girl's having sex with I have, and like
Yes,
seeing a trans
yes,
body doing things that you actually
yes.
do in your personal life.
Yeah, for sure. And like I didn't like come out or even like identify as trans until I was like 29. But even so, I remember seeing, I was always intensely interested in gender nonconforming people, including
Hmm.
trans people. And like, I remember like porn was like one of the first ways I saw like trans people,
For
which
sure.
which sucks, but that's just like the time I grew up in. And like I still remember those scenes where I'm like, whoa, people can like look like that and look, they're having fun.
Do you remember when you saw it for the first time, like trans people in porn?
I must have been 18 or 19. Yeah. Yeah, I remember because I was really broke and I couldn't afford a subscription yet. But
And you would never steal porn ever.
no. Uh but yeah, it must have been around then and yeah.
Yeah, I remember I didn't even know what trans people were. I think I was maybe like 10 or 11. And I had a friend whose older brother had this book that he had like porn and it was like magazines, right?
Yeah.
And there was trans women, but I didn't know what that was and neither did they. But there's like, there's these really hot girls and they just have dicks and that's fucking cool. And it was like no stigma. I was just
Yes.
like, huh. I was like, wait. It was just like, oh yeah, these are just hot girls who have dicks. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that could happen. That's great. It was like the least stigma thing, and it
That's
was
like
so
downright
weird.
wholesome.
Very Midwestern, be like, oh wow, I didn't even know this could happen.
There's a big world out there.
Yeah, right. Where it was, I was like trying to figure out, I'm like, did they get the dicks, or are there just girls that have? I was like, there's just girls with dicks. Okay, cool. I wasn't like they transitioned or anything. I just thought,
I
boom,
kind
it
of
just
like
happened.
I like love seeing really like multi-decades ago media about trans people because
Hmm.
in many ways there was less stigma, which is nuts to think about. But like in like the 1950s. a trans woman transitioning was seen as like a medical miracle. And they're
Yeah.
like, holy shit, look at this. Science, isn't that awesome? And this is just like in the newspaper and stuff. And it's like not stigmatized at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
I mean, yeah, it's I've kind of dove into some history with that. Like I'm really into Warhol and like that whole scene. So I read the Candy Darling biography that's about her life in like the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. And just being like, oh, whoa, trans sex workers existed back then and like did shit was so
Yeah.
mind-blowing to me. And also just like during these depressing ass times in the States where it's like you can like be a trans person anytime, no matter how much the government's trying to criminalize you.
History is like so important for that.
Yeah.
It's just like yeah, you got to know history. And it's not like you'll someday flip a switch and know all of history. It's just like a practice. Like I must read from the ancestors
Yeah,
and and connect with them.
for sure. And yeah, I think that's also another thing with the Netherlands that's like that you're making sex work and porn and stuff in a place where it's been going on for this long, where it's been like 8, 9 centuries now,
Yeah.
where there's like a certain weight to it where I'm like, here I'm like, oh, I'm just like a whatever cam girl, whatever, I do porn. But then I go to Amsterdam, I'm like, oh my God, I am part of this way larger
Yes,
thing,
the lineage.
Yeah.
I so last year I was a volunteer photographer for Queer Amsterdam, and they're
Hmm.
like a group that does like a month-long slew of events and things. It's really awesome. But I was photographing at, they had a sex worker festival, which
Oh,
was
yes.
really, really cute. Oh, did you like hear about this
I think I
or
literally have a flyer for it around here, but
nice.
yes.
It was great. Like they had a little stage and people did like poetry and
Hmm.
dance and um all sorts of things. But what was fantastic was about it, it's like in the red light district, like literally in front of Oude Kerk, which just means
Yeah.
old church.
Church, yeah.
And it's like a centuries old church. And it's just like, yep, and here are all the strippers and prostitutes, and we're all celebrating that at the church. It was like
Yeah.
such a thing that would never happen in the US, and it was like, oh, this rocks.
It's just so crazy that I grew up in such a conservative place in that's Dutch conservative, like where Betsy DeVos and shit is from.
Oh God.
So my idea of being Dutch was always like, I don't care about it. I don't give a shit. Where I was like, it has nothing to do with my life. And then you go to Amsterdam for the first time and you're like, oh my God, this is all the stuff I like. This is my job. This is all the gay stuff. This is weed coffee shops. This is all the food I grew up on and shit, even though it's bad, most of it. But it's like all this stuff where I'm like, oh my God. And it's like
Yeah,
that where it's like you just see all this stuff that's been there for so long and being like, oh wow, this city and Dutch culture grew out of literally the red light district,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And it's just like there's not very many places in the world that are like that. And I
yeah. It's really
think
special.
that they're doing stuff like the film festival there now and stuff, I feel like really is where that stuff should be, and just like seeing more and more porn performers move there and more stuff being produced there, I think just makes me like really proud and really stoked to see it continue to grow.
Yeah, I really hope so. And I'm doing my part.
Yeah, I'm like, you're doing it. So speaking of that, was that your first XBiz nomination?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
How did you feel when you learned you got nominated?
Oh, I was really happy and really grateful because I think for that one, it was heavily dependent on like people nominating
Mm-hmm.
me. So I felt very touched and that people like connected with me and like the clips I make because the nomination was for trans clip creator
Mm-hmm.
and I work really really fucking hard on that. Um, in the last like 6 months, I like started a new thing where I doubled my clip output volume.
Wow.
So it's been like a lot of work, and so it was like really nice to be, recognized and pe be like, wow, people like are seeing it and loving it. So yeah,
I'm assuming you did not make the trip to Miami.
no, I did not. I've been to Expos Miami once. It was great, and I am currently not visiting the state of Florida. So
Yeah, I mean, even before all this shit happened, I don't know. Florida just seems crazy to me. I went as a kid a bunch, but even then I was like, I remember like seeing alligators and shit, and now as an adult, I'm like, I don't need to be fucking with a state where there's dangerous animals and like guns everywhere. That's too much.
Yeah, yeah, there's other places where you can chill on the beach.
Yeah. Did you like the vibe of like that compared to like the West Coast porn vibe? Because I've just kind of always skipped it because I'm like, I don't know if I want to get involved with that because I feel my view of maybe Florida porn is like legal porno, bang bros, browsers sort
Yeah,
of stuff, you know?
it was very much like that, but also like I did feel like I didn't ever feel like excluded when I was there.
Mm,
They were because there's like such a prevalence of like content creators, quote unquote,
yeah.
now instead of like signed performers. So
Hmm.
like they're kind of like, I don't know, you got here. Have some
Yeah.
swag, which is refreshing.
Yeah. So an okay vibe. I've just like kind of
Yeah,
always
yeah.
heard the mix of things from Florida stuff.
I mean, I feel like I worked a lot, which is like a good vibe for me. And
Yeah.
like, I'm also like, well, like I said, like I started porn in my 30s. So I was like, at any time, I was like, this is weird. I was just like, I'm gonna bounce and like go look at some lizards or some shit.
I definitely feel like there's more of that once you're older in porn where like just your ability to be like, yeah, I'm heading out. This is a bad vibe.
Yeah, for
Where when you're in
sure.
your early 20s, yeah, I started going to all these events, I think when I was like 21, 22. So you're like very much like, I can't leave this. I have to be here.
Yeah, yeah, that's a terrible age for being trapped by a feeling of social obligation.
Yeah. It's really funny because people like I think what I talked about earlier with the whole BBC thing I went through, where
Yeah,
it's like I think there's a lot of preset narratives about porn, and it's like most of the bad things about porn and that happen at these porn conventions, it's not even consent violations or people being creepy like that. It's just like true entertainment industry stuff where it's just like bad vibes
yeah,
and like people
yeah,
just feeling obligated like they have to be around that and being like, oh well, I'm here so I have to network this much or be at this party or this party or this party, you know?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like maybe there's like some part of me that's like, oh, maybe I like lost some opportunity by like not pushing myself in these ways. And I'm also like, I don't know, I'm self-employed and I don't have a boss to answer to. So it's like whatever I
Yeah.
actually want to do, which is freeing.
Yeah, I feel like that's really the key with doing anything like this or being an actor, actress, or artist of any sort is you really have to trust yourself more than anything else.
For sure. For sure.
So you started like shooting stuff on your own, and like doing content trade with people. What really made you realize you're like, this is something I want to do for more than just a few shoots and really pursue it more?
Um, I was doing a lot of soul searching at the time
Mm-hmm.
because during the pandemic, I had gotten hella burned out. Like, I was in grad school and working full time, and
Oh my God.
it was horrible. Do not recommend. I ended up like taking mental health leave from work
Mm-hmm.
and like going on disability and dropping out and was like, cool. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll post my butt online. But like, and that was like going okay. But like over like those months that I like had time to like reflect and recover and like think about what I
Yeah.
was doing, I was like, okay, so like I've had a bunch of jobs in my life. What is the similarity between all the ones that I really loved. And it was basically getting to structure my own time and having a
Mm,
lot of freedom and independence. And I decided to like learn more about like content creation and making porn as a business
mm,
actually. And I started to think, well, I think I could really do this because yeah, early on the numbers were like pretty good. I wasn't like super profitable for a
mm-hmm.
long time, but like I was like, okay, like actually I could start to pay my bills and just commit to doing this. And it sure as hell beats the alternatives right now. And yeah, I think it took me like hmm, 8 months to become like profitable because I was kind of just like learning what to do
Mm,
and trying different things. And then since I mean, you're always learning things in this job. So
mm-hmm.
like, I obviously don't do things now how I did 4 years ago, but like, I really love that part of making porn and content creation is like you always are learning stuff, you're always doing research, you're always like doing something different and new, and like that's just like great for me. I love that.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I think you can get burnt out and bored of stuff, but I feel
Yeah,
like if you're really pushing yourself to take in new things and learn new things, I think it's can really be like ever evolving, you know?
for sure.
And I think it's also just like that there's always new people coming into porn and you get to have all these new experiences with people. Like, I think it's really like revigorating when you get to be there for people's like first experiences. Like, one of my favorite things, I've been to, I think 10 AVNs now. But whenever I have a movie and there's someone who it's their first AVN, I'm like, that always warms my heart so much because I'm like, oh wow, you get to have your first experience of this, you know, and like
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
the
yeah.
younger performers' excitement. I
That's
feel
so
like,
sweet. Yeah.
yeah, makes me be like, oh wow, this is something special. This isn't just, you know, okay, another one. Okay, I lost four more, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like I forgot what I was gonna say. I
It's
agree.
okay. Yeah, we do you know Anna Lynx?
This sounds really familiar.
Yeah, you should probably link up with her. She's like an hour north of Amsterdam, and I was nominated with her for my last movie at AVN, and we had a Norwegian journalist with us. It was both their first time in Vegas. So just
Nice.
like explaining to Europeans what Vegas is and like
Oh
being
my
like, oh yeah,
God.
if you go there, you can pay $150 and shoot any weapon you want. And they're just like, what? They're like, you need a license though, right? And be like, no. Or like explaining like American portion sizes or being like, you can't walk from this place to this place. You can't do that here.
You can't. There's no way, actually.
And there's like, it's only 2 kilometers on the map. I'm like, you don't want to do that though.
You're going to be crossing an expressway,
Yeah.
like jaywalking.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just like those experiences and seeing new people always in the industry is, I think, just so inspiring to be like, okay, there's new people coming in, there's new ideas coming in, where I feel like it's very easy to get jaded over time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And like one of the things too that is like really, I guess, special about sex work in
Hmm.
both bad and good ways is that there's like a very low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And so you just meet all kinds of people, all kinds. And that can be like just really, yeah, stimulating and interesting and inspiring, dare I say.
Yeah, I think that there's not one universal story about how to become a porn performer.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
something I really, really like, where there's people from all different walks of life who got into it for all different kinds of reasons, where I feel like there's a lot of assumptions that I said earlier, where it's like, oh, you get on at 18, you do it for like
Yeah.
10, 15 years, then you're gone. It's just
Yeah.
like that's not necessarily the case. There's a million and one stories why people get into porn, how kind of porn they pursue. Um, for you, how do you like go into preparing for a scene, both like creatively and actually physically?
Do you mean like a solo one or with other people?
Both. Like, do you just have like a concept and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it like this, or do you more have like, oh, I need to do this sexual act or this sexual act in a scene, so I'm gonna base the scene around that.
If I'm working with another performer, part of my like preparation is like kind of just seeing what they want to do as
Hmm.
well, because like that's important to me. But like
Yeah.
I'll be like, do you like have ideas of things that you want to do? Do you have requirements? And like, do you want to just decide in the moment? Like that's also
Hmm.
fine. Like obviously discussing boundaries first, but like I've had scenes that are like heavily scripted and scenes that are like, I don't know, we're gonna like fuck for 45 minutes. Uh, so it kind of depends on like the person and the vibe. And like I really love working with some performers like multiple times if we have a good vibe,
Hmm.
because then it's like so much easier like the second
Yeah.
or third time around, because you're like, that was hot. I loved it when you did this. What if we
Hmm.
did this? And like that it's like any relationship. It deepens with time. Haha. It's
Oh my
terrible.
God. Oh, that pun.
It's really bad.
Um, yeah, so is it more, do you have like higher concepts usually where you're like, oh, I want to have this specific aesthetic, or is it more about the sexual acts for you, do you think, when you're going into
It's more, yeah, it's usually not high concept. It's funny
mm,
because like my solo content is like very high concept and like scripted and stuff. And then when I'm like with other people, I'm like, it's queer porn time. Let's
yeah.
fuck.
I do love like there's just such a thing with queer porn that's just like so unique that it's just
Hmm.
like very much just like okay, these are our no's basically and be like okay, let's go. It's just like
Yeah.
improv essentially.
Yeah, I'm God. I've become so much better at improv than I ever thought I would be from making porn.
Yeah, it's really weird like the things that you have to reference in porn. Like I took a year of theater in high school because I didn't want to take a language class. And they're like, oh, it counts as a language. So I'm like, hell yeah. And then I was not expecting to get into porn. I don't think most people, I mean, some people have the game plan right after high school where they're like, this is what I'm doing. But then a few years later, I'm like, wow, I know how to memorize scripts now and stuff that I'm
God,
like, I
yeah.
would have never known how to do that. Um, yeah. So, um, oh, what was I gonna ask? I'm blinking right now. I just had a very good question. Oh, do you have like any sort of dream scene that you really want to do that you haven't been able to yet? Like, is there any, whether concept wise, sexual wise, like, is there anything
Hmm.
that you really want to like
Oh
cross
my
off the
God.
bucket list?
Yes, I've never neither in porn nor in my personal life have I ever had a threesome with two cis men. This seems like it should be easy, but it's never happened for me.
I'm like, I can help you produce that today.
Pl- Please. I'm crawling, begging, crying, throwing up to
Um,
find two cis guys who are normal and hot.
okay, the normal part's gonna be hard, but
Okay, fuckable.
okay. Um, I feel like you can definitely make that happen.
I don't know.
Okay. That's really cool. Yeah. I did that once. I underestimated how much of a lesbian I was.
Nice.
So like there was an original cut of the scene that was 30 minutes and I looked so disinterested in it, so we had to cut it down to 10. But the 10-minute edit's great. But I remember like us it was my first movie, Fucking Mystic, and we were going through it, the other two filmmakers, and we're like, yeah, this isn't it. This isn't it.
How often does that happen where you have to like cut a lot?
I think that's probably like the only one that I really remember
That's
a
great.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've I don't know. I can't get excited to work with cis men anymore.
That's fair.
I'm like even like mainstream porn, I'm like, even if you give me money, I'm like, I have to get on a plane and go somewhere to have sex with men. It's too much for me. Um, yeah, so do you kind of shoot with like all gender orientations of people, or do you kind of like lean towards more like gay content or
Yeah, I shoot with all genders. I think I tend to prioritize um trans people just because
yeah.
like that tends to sell well. Um my worst performing scenes are with cis women. So while I
Oh,
do
really?
like yes. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me too. I was like, what?
Huh.
Um so I like don't push for that as much, but yeah, everyone's welcome. It's just like depends on like the vibe and compatibility and like um like what's the word I'm looking for? Audiences that can like cross fertilize and like be
Hmm.
interested in each other.
That's really true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there is a lot of I feel like trans porn fans don't only have one trans porn performer they're into. They're like have the top five, I feel like, where they're like them, and them, you know?
This is like literally the comments I see on Reddit. Someone's like, "Who's your favorite?" And they list like 8 people.
Yeah. Did you when you were like watching porn, was it mostly like queer porn or were you also like taking in mainstream trans porn? Because honestly, when I started watching porn, I watched like zero mainstream trans porn. So like when I got started getting casted and I was like, I don't care about this. And they're like, this is a big deal. You're on blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't care about it.
That's a great attitude to have, though. Um, no, I don't think I've ever been a big mainstream porn watcher, like at
Yeah.
all. It just like no hate to the genre, but like it just doesn't do anything for me
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah. I felt alt porn was always like more my thing. Like it wasn't until like Sasha Grey and Stoya that I was like, I can do porn now and not have big fake
Yeah.
boobs. And I'm like, okay, this seems accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any like big performers that like you would say like you looked up to?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I was a big simp for Cam Damage. I
Oh, I
like
could see that.
followed
Yeah.
him like even in the era of like Tumblr.
Yeah.
So like tw 2013 and shit.
Hmm.
And so then when he came out as trans about the same time as me, I was just like, that's crazy. Um, and was just kind of like a funny like what's the word I'm looking for? The word for when you have like a relationship with a celebrity. You know what I'm talking about? Someone
Like
who has no idea who you are.
yeah, yeah. I definitely, yeah, I have that with Sasha Grey. I mean, I even just still have this like always
Oh,
on my
nice.
thing where I'm just like base my aesthetic around that, all that stuff. Yeah, like I'm trying to think of the term, but yeah, where you're like they're like your porn celebrity, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I think yeah, he was a huge influence. And so was Jisley. Like,
Yeah.
because I knew about them like when I was a baby gay watching the Crash Pad and like read their book and stuff. So yeah.
Funny thing, their episode's actually be the one directly before yours. They were the last person I
I'm
interviewed.
so excited.
Yeah, it's
That's
such a
so
good time.
cool.
Whenever I get that to happen on here, I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that there's been all these people who are like trans masc or non-binary that have really been able to make it on their own terms, and I really hope there's more of that. I really hope it's more rewarded. At stuff like AVN that there has only been one trans masc person to ever win Performer of the Year is kind of crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think like I have a lot of thoughts about the
Go
trans
for it. This is
mask
what this is for. Go
market.
for it.
One thing that there's like a gap in understanding between like queer porn audiences and people who make queer porn,
Hmm.
where people really want to see trans mask and non-binary representation.
Hmm.
Fantastic. It exists. You got to go find it. But yeah, there's two issues. One is that you have to pay for the porn because it's not mainstream. And so unless you're pirating it, which you shouldn't do, you
Yeah,
have to
don't do that.
go pay the creators. And they are trans people, so you should pay to support their work. And that like education of like where to even find trans porn is not there. And then the other one is that like I'm non-binary. I love non-binary people, but when it comes to porn, the word non-binary means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
It's like if you're and that's like it's kind of funny, right? Because it's like such a wonderful word actually as like an identity of like I'm not these two things. But
Yeah.
when it comes to porn, it's all about keywords of because people want to look at you. And so non-binary could be anything, and therefore if you slap non-binary on your video, no, everyone's gonna be like, "Well, what are you? Do you have tits? Don't you? Is there a cock involved?" Like for some people that's like the ambiguity is great, but for most porn audience, they're like, "I want to look at like this specific thing."
Yeah.
And so that is like a barrier and not like a barrier, but like a miscommunication between like the social realm and the sexual realm.
I think it's just like so interesting how like when I was talking to Jizzly, just being like they were nominated for AVN Awards 15 years ago as a non-binary person. And just like thinking about how that existed back then. And
Yeah.
now like you see so many trans people and non-binary people now, but just like how this has existed for so long in porn, but is also still this kind of undefined thing where it's hard to name very many non-binary people who are genderqueer or whatever in porn who are not being defined by either male or female, where it's still
Yeah.
you kind of get put into this binary thing where it's you're trans masc, you're a trans femme, and that's kind of
Yeah, for sure. Or you're just trans.
it.
And like there's kind of benefits and drawbacks to each of those models, but like neither is perfect.
Yeah. And also I think it's this I used to have this sports podcast where it was with two other trans athletes, and I obviously consider porn to be athletic and porn performers to be athletes and shit. But it's very strange because in porn, we don't see a lack of trans people winning awards. We're competing against fellow trans people as well as cis people. So in trans sports, I feel like there's this idea that's like, well, you have to support everyone who's trans, right? Where
Mhm.
in porn, there's so many of us and so many of us winning awards that you can have a trans person win and be like, I don't really like that person. I don't really like their work. It's this like weird dichotomy where it's like we see so much like trans success and trans excellence that there's almost this level of like it becomes ordinary in a way. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and I've
Yeah.
never thought of it that way, but I see it.
Yeah, because yeah, on that podcast it was like, oh yeah, there's this one trans girl who does this one sport. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And they're like, we need to support her. And I'm like, every single award show we go to, like, there's five, six trans people winning awards. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's chill, and nobody really cares anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like so weird to be in this political world where trans people are so politicized, but we're in this industry where no one really cares in porn. I haven't heard anyone be like trans people can't be nominated for this or that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they definitely exist, but like the vast majority, it seems, of like industry people are just kind of like give a shrug.
Yeah. I was joking before on Twitter. I'm like, so I've been nominated for Best BDSM movie, I think the last 5 years or something.
Congrats. It's
And
awesome.
thanks. And I'm like, you see all this trans stuff where it's like all these other cis people are forfeiting against trans people. And I'm like, if y'all want to forfeit for an AVN and just like, I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm like, if you want to make a political stand, that's fine with me.
I love this is like tangential, but like
Yeah.
the people in the US who are like we have to ban trans women from beauty contests. I'm like, so you admit that they're like more beautiful than cis
Yeah,
women, and they have an unfair advantage.
it's that shit's so funny. It's
So
also
fucked.
like I think these industry events are so different now, where I feel like when I first went, like in 2013, 2014, it was still so outwardly transphobic with all the slurs and stuff. And there were such few
Yeah.
trans people. And now you go to a thing like AVN or XBiz where it feels like it's like 25% trans people. And it's crazy. Because like other than going to like pride events or a WNBA game, I haven't been to many places where there's like just that many open trans people. It's like everywhere, you know?
I hadn't thought of that either, but it is true, and it's something that's like uh it's the same like feeling I get when I like go to like a trans event when I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm like surrounded by people like me, and it has that like tribal feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really unique thing. So you've obviously kind of shot all over the place. It sounds like you shot in Florida. I'm assuming you probably shot in Vegas, LA, the Bay, Amsterdam. Do you have a favorite place to like make stuff?
Oof. Not Vegas. It's so hot that it's just hard to exist. Um, I have like just really loved the people I connected with and worked with in the Bay.
Yeah.
Just and the studios. I mean, the crash pad was great, and uh, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna vote for the hometown here. I'm gonna say the Bay was the best.
Yeah, it's I feel like especially like after you get done with a crash pad shoot, I'm assuming you had one like the early morning ones that kind of suck.
No, I think I insisted on the
Oh.
afternoon because I'm not a morning
Good for
person.
you. I've always got put with like the early morning ones where you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and then
Oh
show up at
God.
set at like 7, where it's like 10 a.m. and you're like have the rest of your day, but you're like, I just shot a porno. Like that way to start your Saturday or Sunday. I definitely that's a magic thing.
Yeah, I would always also okay, I've just realized one reason I might feel this bias towards the Bay is like after any shoot, I could go and get a really fucking good burrito.
Yeah.
Like anywhere. I
That
miss
is
burritos so much here.
that is the sad thing about Amsterdam. The Mexican food's lacking.
Eh,
I'd
to put
kind
it
of like
lightly.
authentic. It's supposed to be an authentic taqueria. It's like an hour from Amsterdam.
Oh
I'll send you
God.
that info. I don't know if it's
Yes.
actually legit, but
I'll try
it might be
it.
worth some train rides. Yeah, so you've been in the industry now for like nearly 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What do you want to accomplish that you haven't so far? Because you've done a lot. Like you got nominated for major awards, you're continuing to create, you shot in multiple countries. What's the big thing on your horizon that you want to accomplish?
I have a couple things. One is I'd love to shoot with more studios,
Yeah.
and that's like apparently a hard sell just because of like I am a very niche performer, but I've really enjoyed the studio shoots I've done in the past, so I would like to do more.
Hmm.
And I would really love to somehow generate more time to work on like my personal film projects. Um, One of my short film, No Man Like Me, has now been screened in, I think, 8 film festivals, which
That's
I'm
so
really,
cool.
really happy about. But I produced that in like late 2023 or 2022. I don't remember. And since then, I've like had to work so much. I've even like filmed stuff that I haven't had time to edit, and that's like gnawing upon me. I'm like, I need time to create for me. So I basically like have a dream of creating more like artistic porn because that like
Yeah.
really interests me and like is very fun and fulfilling for me.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's on the agenda.
That's so amazing. Yeah, where do you have any screenings coming up with that film?
I do. There's one in the Bay Area, actually, May 30th at Sex Worker Fest.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it looks really fun. I'm sad I won't be able to go. There's one in the Australian School of Sexuality's Ass Fest in
Oh,
June.
fun. Yeah, I know about
It
that
look
one.
Oh really? Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
so great. And then at the Berlin Porn Film Festival in October.
Ooh, that's a big one.
I know I'm going this year. I'm
Have you
very
been
excited.
before?
I have not.
It's the coolest festival. I
Ah.
legitimately was so burnt out on porn before I went to Berlin the first time. Like, I was in such a doom and gloom place where I'm like, I'm leaving porn, I'm leaving porn. And then I hung out with people in Berlin. And then I was like, okay, I'm totally chill. It's just American porn being shitty.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, like I hung out with the Fuck the Fascism people. Have you seen their work?
No, I haven't.
So they just go around like defacing fascist graves and like peeing on them and having sex on them.
Fuck yeah.
And I was like, everyone in the United States was calling me like political and crazy for being like, hey, can you please not profit off of the term she-male if you're not trans? And they're like, you're gonna ruin porn, Chelsea. And then I went to Europe and it was just like, yeah, so we found this fascist grave and we pissed all over it and then we fisted each other on it. I'm like, this is the porn I should be around.
Yes. Oh God. I've really enjoyed going to porn film festivals.
Yeah.
They're like a total blast, inspiring. You meet
Yeah.
interesting people. You just like get fired up about like the possibilities of film.
I feel like it definitely makes me be like, this is how my porn's supposed to be viewed. This is how it's supposed to be taken in.
For
Where I feel
sure.
like the one thing I really dislike about award shows and stuff in the United States is you never see the people you're going against films. So there becomes
Yeah.
this whole resentment thing where it's like, well, fuck them, fuck this award show. Where like if you're in
Yeah.
a film festival and you see everyone's film, even if you don't win, you're like, oh, that's a really cool movie. That's a really cool concept. I really like that. You know?
Yeah. And then you can like and you like see the person and they're like
Yeah.
having a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish more than anything AVN did in Expos did something like that where you just like have a theater during the week just playing every single movie in a row.
That would be awesome. That's such a good
Yeah.
idea.
If AVN or Experts wants to hire us to do that,
Yes, let us
you can
program
hit
your
us
porn
up.
show.
Um, So first off, thank you so much for chatting about all these things, porn, and it's been such a joy to also connect on all things Bay Area slash Amsterdam. I'm like, there's very
Yes.
few people who have the knowledge of both. Um, so this is my only kind of BuzzFeedy kind of question. So let's say you can wake up tomorrow and one thing could magically be changed in porn. What would you have it be?
Oh my God. Wow. Okay, let me think for a moment. In like porn as an industry or like in
Sure,
society?
sure. Anything you want, it's magic.
I would. I'm like, I'm having a brainstorm.
Oh, you're all good. I can definitely take up time when you think for you if you need me to. I really want local governments and like national governments to take over testing like in for fighting like boxing or the UFC or like anything like that where there's blood exchange that's going to happen. There's state commissions that take care of all the testing. So I don't believe like the fighters actually have to pay for it. Where the state's like, oh, we have this thing that's generating money within our state. We're gonna take care of the testing, so there's no risk of health issues or anything of that, and make sure everyone's healthy in those fields. So as much as I don't want to trust the state of California or different governments, I feel like if there was a way that they could handle it professionally, I think that's what's required because I don't feel like this $250 in the States to get testing or in the Netherlands, testing in the adult industry is so fucking hard.
It is. It's a constant challenge to like pay out of pocket or like uh, uh, get your free testing, but is like from multiple agencies and
Yeah.
like they don't always show you the results. Yeah, that's been like the worst part here.
Yeah. I think mine is a little bit more rational compared to being magic, but
Okay, I think if I could change one thing, it would be that payment processors have to like obey the First Amendment, basically.
mhm.
Where I think one thing that's like super fucked up is that payment processors dictate free speech on the internet, basically.
Yes.
When they're like, you can't show these things. Why? Because we don't like them. And like, then you hamstring a whole like industry or certain creators for basically moral reasons.
Yep.
And that's fucked up. That shouldn't be allowed.
I strongly agree as someone who's trying to find a new payment processor right now.
Ooh.
Uh, no, it's so
No,
difficult.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
so difficult. Yeah, I literally went through a process where found a company. They're like, of course, we got you. We work with other BDSM things, blah, 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 blah. And then for them to be like, well, never mind, our bank won't do anything. Sorry. After like 2 weeks of contract negotiations, signing contracts.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
I'm
I can
sorry,
definitely
that's a
feel that.
nightmare.
It's all good. It's very much. You have to remember, like, I try to not get caught up in the drama of the moment and be like, oh yeah, there's like actual sex workers who are on the street who are, having way bigger issues than being like, oh, I have to wait to find a payment processor for my website in a few months, Like in
Sure.
the scheme of things, it's okay.
It's a good
I
attitude to
try to
have.
have perspective. I don't want to be that girl who's like, I am the biggest victim in sex work. So yeah, where can everyone find you on social media? Where can they see your work? And do you have any festival dates coming up that you can plug?
Yeah, the nexus for all of my stuff is jackquicksilver.com. And from there you can go to my video site, JackXXX. You can go to my fan sites, my clip sites, my social media. Blue Sky is my favorite. I'm also active on Instagram. Let's see. Yes, I'm going to be at the Berlin Porn Film Festival in October, so
Hell
I'm super
yeah.
excited about that. And I'm going to be at Milkshake Festival in Amsterdam on my birthday. So if anyone
Ooh.
is in the Festival on the weekend of the 26th, you might see me there. That's it.
Yeah, I suggest people to go to both. Berlin, iconic. Like I did a podcast with that was totally unrelated to porn. I'm a really big college football fan. And this college football podcast had me on because AVN and the national championship are going to be in Vegas at the same time next year.
Awesome.
So I brought up Berlin, and they're like, "Oh, of course I know the Berlin Porn Film Festival." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." And then yeah, everyone should definitely go to Amsterdam, watch porno, go to a live sex show, do all the Amsterdam stuff. It's the best.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a blast at those film festivals. I hope to see you at least at Berlin, hopefully. Hopefully, I'm no longer in this country at that point.
Yeah, join
Yeah.
us.
You have no idea how much. Yeah. But yeah, thank you again so much. And everyone go to those festivals, support Jack's work, and